What's up? What's up? What's up? Welcome back to another episode of One Life to Live with Dr. Coach A. I myself am Dr. Coach A. Appreciate you for joining me. Today, I want to talk about football or even high school sports in general has gotten too soft. And not just the game itself, but the coaching and the culture of the sport has essentially gotten too soft, right? And you hear a lot of people that will compare what you see product wise on the field now to when they were playing, be it in the early 2000s, 90s, the 80s, whatever the case may be. You will often hear people criticize and complain and say, the game has gotten too soft. The rule changes this, the XYZ that. It has made players and the game soft. So I want to talk about, has that happened? Is that the case? Have we as coaches gotten too soft? Has the game itself become too soft? Now, the term soft in football, right? It often refers to players who are perceived to be avoiding contact or they lack that physical contact, which, back when my dad played, and this was in the goodness, my age am now, the 80s, early 90s, something like that. He was referred to as a headhunter, somebody that was always looking for contact or looking to hit. I think we've gotten a little smarter to the point where we understand that you just can't do that all the time, right? If you want to play a long time, you got to learn how to take care of your body. You got to figure out ways to preserve yourself. And even in the high school game, now you think about it and you got to play 15 games, and that's not including going through the spring and the summer and getting, for some people who are not going in the spring, they're getting those two scrimmages. So now you're looking at 16, 17 games that you got to make it through in order to play for a state championship game, right? Now, before we get going, right, I just want to say my opinion on this kind of swings both ways. And a lot of it has to do with now, we keep in mind that we do talk mental health and we do think of the mental side of it from players, and the way we address players now is a lot different than how even I addressed players 10 years ago, or how I was addressed as a player when I was playing in the early 2000s. So my opinion on this kind of sways a little bit. I can see both arguments, I understand both arguments. So I'm just going to lay it all out on the table, right? Now, when we start thinking about this football culture that we have, right, is sometimes criticized for becoming softer due to some of the rule changes. So when you pay attention to the rules, a lot of people will say, oh, I don't watch them because of it's softer. That rule has made it softer. The Brady rule, the Tuck rule, the what is it called? The head to head stuff and targeting rules, right? So I heard a player recently make the statement that said the game has not gotten soft. However, the athletes have gotten bigger, they've gotten stronger, and they've gotten faster. And because of that, you've had to change the way, again, the game is being played. So, what's changed in football, right? So, those are the things that I'm going to discuss and talk about today. And then you can jump in my comments, go wherever you want, and then we can kind of go from there, right? But football culture, essentially, what have we created? Mm. And I pause for a second because I want you to think about that, right? What have we created from a cultural standpoint? If you go online, IG, X, YouTube, anywhere, you can always find something where there's a parent going back and forth with a coach. There's a coach going back and forth with an official. There's parents fighting parents. There's coaches fighting coaches, right? You're getting all of that stuff that's happening right in front of these kids. Now, what does that have to do with being soft? We'll get to that in a minute, right? But again, think about what we've done. Think about the problems we've created that started a long time ago or have been kind of building up and have gotten to a point now where everybody's like, man, I'm tired of this. I'm tired of that. And we'll talk about some of the thises and that's. But think about it though. Some of the stuff that we've created, trash talk used to be a big part of sports. You don't see it so much anymore because they say, oh, you can't handle it. But if you see a guy like Kevin Garnett, if Kevin Garnett was playing football right now, a guy that talked to himself and hyped himself up. And if you were around him, maybe you got a little bit of what he was saying because he was going to tell you, you can't mess with him. You can't guard him. You ain't on his level. Now we see that and we have a problem with it, right? Angel Reese, hand in the face to Caitlin Clark. The world has a problem with that when it's flipped. Caitlin Clark did it the week before. Nobody said a word. Angel Reese did it to Caitlin Clark. Now all of a sudden we got a big issue. So again, what have we created, right? This is us adults looking on what we perceive to be a child's game. What have we done to it, right? So again, is it our fault as adults? Some of the things we see, some of the targeting, some of the what we would say, or some people might say, is a little bit too aggressive, the over aggressiveness, right? I didn't have a problem with Michael Jordan winning a championship and staying in Chicago, playing with Scotty and Dennis Rodman coming to join him. But a lot of people had a problem with Dwayne Wade playing in Miami and Chris Bosh coming down and LeBron James coming down to join him. Right? Now, a little bit different because we know Scotty was drafted to Chicago. Dennis was not. Right? There's a lot of players that jumped on that Chicago train that were not drafted there. Just going to throw that in there, right? Now, as we're talking this through, or as I'm talking this through and you're listening, and like I said, you hit me up, you tell me how you feel. It's not going to hurt my feelings. As adults, in the early 2000s, when I was playing, there were athletes that were moving to go be a part of what they thought was a better opportunity to win. That was all it was said to be at the time. That's going to be a better opportunity for my kid. No quorums, no anything judgment wise about it. Everybody was just like, all right, if that's what you feel is best, we wish you the best of luck. Right? But again, i.e. parents, i.e. we the adults now kind of created some of this stuff, right? The targeting in football. My dad would probably argue and say that's the way he played. My dad would also make the argument and say that's how I played. I get it. I understand the safety aspect of it. I don't teach anybody to lead with the crown of their helmet. I don't teach anybody to hit with their head. In fact, I try to make sure our head is out of everything we do when I'm coaching this sport called football, right? But when I'm leading with my shoulder, if you tuck and duck, it's just going to happen that you get hit in the head. Now, is that soft? Should that be a rule, or should there be a rule against that? It's not for me to say. You know, I understand the safety of it. I understand the importance of having a brain and the importance of brain injuries and how it can affect an individual for periods of time. So I'm not going to make any arguments towards the protection and safety of individuals. right? Taunting. That's what my culture, people that are in my age group, we just say, bro, they just talking trash. That's just what we do. That is how the game is played. When I was growing up, I could bust your ass and let you know I was busting your ass in that moment. Pause. But it was very clear that it was just sports related in this moment. It don't have to leave this rectangle. It don't have to leave the diamond of the baseball field, right? But again, you break it down now and you look at it, it's kind of getting out of hand. You get parents that have zero to do with the game, coaches that have nothing to do with the game, that are talking trash. I talk trash, but I'm going to talk trash in a respectful way. Example, I might tell a kid, hey man, you should probably ask your coach for help because that guy is clearly too much for you to handle. I didn't disrespect him. I just said, hey man, little advice. Tell your coach you can't do this alone. Now, you could flip that. You could say that 100 different ways, right? Hey man, he busting your ass over here. You suck. Nah, you just need a little help. All right, ask your coach if you can get a little assistance on this side because this ain't what you want. Right? So again, it's ways we can go about doing this. We can still be respectful, right? People will say, hey, enough is enough. I'm tired of watching the 7-on-7 fights in the spring and the summer. I'm tired of watching the basketball players get into fights from December to March. And I think it's true. I think we're all tired of pulling it up on social media and seeing it happen. I'm just speaking on it at this point, right? I see it. I know there was a big thing that happened here in Georgia, where a team got into a fight. Some players left the side. Some players took a knee on the field. People got suspended. Some people didn't get suspended. Lawsuits happened. All that stuff, right? Again, we could avoid some of that, right? That whole I hit you or you hit me, I hit you back mentality. It just don't apply in sports unless we talking, all right, you hit me as far as tackling me or blocking me, and I'm gonna get you back by beating you on the next rep. Then it's cool, right? Then it's okay. But you cheap shot me, I'm gonna cheap shot you even harder on the next play. Now we got problems, right? So I'm gonna say it one more time. Enough is enough, right? It just is what it is. Now, all of this pertains to, right, the culture of football and what we sometimes look at as the hard part of football, keeping it tough and not being too soft, right? Talking trash, the hitting, um, all of that stuff. It's all under that umbrella. Now, if we talk about the coaches, yeah, coaching. Have we as coaches gotten soft? Are we coaching too hard? Am I too hard on your baby? Maybe. There are reasons behind it, right? If you ask a coach now, and it's crazy because I sat down with a coach a couple weeks ago, and he said the difference between now and when he first got to doing this 20 something years ago was he said when he's sitting in his office having meetings, there's no dad around. It's usually mom sitting in the office. If it's mom and dad sitting in the office, the meetings tend to be more understandable. Dad's usually on the page of, yes, he should be doing that. yes, you should say it to him that way. Moms, on the other hand, are more so, don't talk to my baby like that. That's still mama's baby. You got me? So again, coaches, we got to look at ourselves sometimes, right? But we got to keep in mind that players want to be pushed. And when players want to be pushed, that's going to change sometimes how you talk to them. Now, I can't talk to Lil Johnny, who my third string guy that is undersized and probably is only going to play through high school, the same way that I could talk to Lil Mike over here, who is a top 10 player in his position, right? That verbiage gonna be a little different. Hey Johnny, it's all right, bro. I get it. Hey, you in the right spot. Keep going. You got me? Mike over there. Hey, bro, if you plan on making an impact when you get there, you might want to get there. So how we talk to players, it's always gonna be a little different, right? But again, if a player wants to be pushed, if a player wants to get to or reach their full potential, max potential, be the best that they can be it the best teammate, best a player they could be, best person off the field, I gotta push you. I gotta set a standard. I gotta hold you to that standard, and then we gotta meet each other at that standard. There can't be I tone it down. You half-ass it sometimes, and then I be cool with it. No, my standard is here. You got to meet me there every time. So again, players want to be pushed. So players got to understand we not doing the soft thing over here. If you think this is going to be easy, then you're expecting soft. If you understand that it's going to be hard, then you got to accept hard, especially hard coaching. Right? I'd rather me coach you hard and prepare you for difficult and tough moments than me coach you soft, and then you get in those difficult and soft moments and you cradle up like a dog or a little cat, and now the moment's too big, right? So too much. There has to be a line where you say that's too much. And again, there's got to be a line where you say that's too little. For every player, like I just said, it's going to be different. It's got to be different. It has to be different. But if I could get a kid that, let's just say, in the weight room, and he can bench 225 5 times, right? 225 5 times. That's pretty good for a high school kid. But if that's all we ever get to is the 225 5 times, then I didn't do that kid any favors. I got to push you to be the best you could be. It's just as simple as that, right? And I've got to try to get you to figure out what's too much. So then we could draw the line once we get there. But if we can't figure out how far you can go, then we ain't never going to figure out what that next step could be. So I got to push you. Me pushing you is going to bring out the best in you. Now, me pushing you ain't me cussing you and telling you how sorry you are, how terrible you are, how that person's way better than you, and how you could never play because you're behind these other guys. Is it true? Maybe. However, I can't do that. I can't just verbally come out and say that. We as coaches can't do that, right? Because now everybody plays the mental toughness card. Everybody plays the mental health thing. And they want to pull out the mental health card and say, Coach, I'm going to need 2 days because my mental health is just not where it needs to be. Right? So that's the mental toughness piece of it. We as coaches now have to keep that in mind because it's a real thing. Kids are becoming depressed. Kids are dealing with anxiety. When we were growing up, none of that stuff was being used. None of that stuff was being said. And I wanted to go and be a sports psychologist. But nobody was sitting there saying, yo, man, I'm so overworked that, I'm becoming depressed and I just don't like this game anymore. And maybe if I take, 2 or 3 days off and I come back and, after some time of reflection, then I'll feel fresh and I'll feel better. Nah, 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 nah. Again, I'm going to push you to figure out what your brink is because your physical toughness and your mental toughness have to work together. They got to be, coincide with one another. If you're not mentally tough, you're not going to be physically tough. And if you're not physically tough, it's going to be very hard for you to be mentally tough. So again, my opinion, but I think they go together. And if you could find a physically tough kid who's mentally tough, then you see some really good things. If he's lacking on one, I think we've all seen some of those players and seen some of those people and how they result or react to things, right? Now, sometimes the culture we've created, we avoid speaking to certain kids a certain way because we feel like their parents are going to pull them from our program. So if we've got a really good player as a coach, just point this out. Sometimes when you have that really good player on your team, you let them get away with certain things. Because if you're too hard on them, again, mom's going to show up in the office. Not dad, but mom's going to show up because you're being too hard on her baby. Is it right? Yeah, it's mom's opinion. So sometimes we as coaches, I don't think I'm one of those coaches that does this, but we tend to back off of a kid and avoid saying hard things, avoid having tough and hard conversations because we don't want to deal with the consequence of maybe that kid's going to leave because they didn't like what I said. Maybe that kid's going to leave because they didn't appreciate my honesty. Now, I've had that happen. I'm very honest. I'm very open. In fact, I'm so open to the point where if you ask me, I'm going to tell you the truth. But before you get the opportunity to ask me, I'm going to write it all down and then I'm going to share it with you and give you the opportunity to let you see what I think are the good, the bad, your weaknesses, and how we can work together to improve on whatever said weaknesses are and whatever those strengths are so that we can be better at them. Now, does that work for everybody? No, of course not. We live in a world of social media, instant gratification, right? Where if a young lady posts a pic and if it doesn't get a certain amount of likes in a certain amount of time, they pull the picture down. Where young men, if they post a picture of themselves with a girl and they homeboys say that girl don't look good, they take the picture down. They break up with said girl. It's just the world we live in, right? There's that fear of having any type of backlash, any type of consequence for whatever it is you do because we're so used to the instant gratification of everything that's happening, right? So, talked about this just a little bit, right? Transfers, increased transfers. If I speak hard on a kid, or if I coach a kid hard, or speak hard to a kid, tough to a kid, and mom don't like it, right? Transfer. Cool. I get it. I was a little too hard on Johnny. Right? But again, I'm trying to build the mental toughness because being mentally tough is just as important, as I said a minute ago, as being physically tough, especially when you're playing a game like football. The mental part of the game is what gets you beat, right? But when things don't go your way, a lot of the times you will see people leave, transfer, relationships and life. Oh my God, my boyfriend didn't do XYZ. Oh my God, my wife didn't do XYZ. Oh my gosh, this other person is doing such and such. My partner does not. So you leave. You leave. You walk out the door, you start all over again. Things don't go your way. You walk out the door, you start all over again. Again, transfers. I'm okay with that. If you think the opportunity for you is better elsewhere, I think you should go after that. I think you should take the best opportunity for you. If you feel like it's best for you, the outcome at the end is going to be everything you dreamed of, hoped for, imagined for, then by all means, you do that. Right? Transfer. Go ahead. When things don't go your way, though, sometimes you got to stop. Michael Jackson, take a check and look at the man in the mirror and ask yourself, is it because of me and my actions and what I'm doing? Or are we just solely putting the blame and fault on somebody else? Right? Nowadays, also, you see people transferring because they aren't playing. But why aren't you playing? Is it because you're a freshman or a sophomore and you're behind the senior? Is the guy in front of you actually better than you? Right? We're going to avoid those conversations with some people because they don't want to hear that. They don't want to know, yeah, man, he's just better than me. So what they gonna do? They gonna pick up. They gonna go home. Mom ain't gonna play over there. They got him in front of me. I know I'm better than him. Transfer. And it's not just the moms. I keep saying moms, right? It's the dads. Dad's looking at it too. Dad's going, oh man, my son's got to get some film. My son's got to get on the field right now. Transfer. Sometimes sitting around ain't what everybody want to do. Right? So I get it. So, because you aren't playing, because you want to avoid a little competition, sometimes you transfer. All right. Some people gonna transfer because they just want to be with the cool kids. What I mean by that, you could be at a school that's making it to the third round. You could be at a school that's not making it to the playoffs at all. And you leave and you go somewhere because it just looks better over there. They are winning a little bit more over there. Right? Doesn't mean it's going to be better for you. It just means the program is doing well. So you could essentially be where you are, be a starter, but because it looks cool over there, you want to go and ride the bench as opposed to playing and starting and making a difference where you are. Like I said a minute ago, if you feel like that opportunity is best or better for you, go with it. If you just want to go over, hang out with the cool kids, by all means, go hang out with the cool kids. Go over there where the grass looks a little greener. But like my mom told me, everything that glitters is not gold. Trust me. Right? Now, like I said, all transferring is not bad. If I am at a spot and I could go somewhere where they're winning and I could be a part of that and I'm playing and actually a part of that, go do it. If I'm at a spot where I know, all right, I'm going to be a backup for the next year or two, but I can go over there and I can play right now, by all means, take care of business, right? Go over there, go get on the field, go do what you're supposed to do. Set yourself up, make everything better for you, right? Go take care of business. I'm all for it, right? Not all transferring, not all jumping ships is bad. I say it again. Not all transfers, not all moves are bad. Some of them are realistically for the betterment of an individual. Now, if it's just straight athletics, so the only reason you moving is because of athletics, you probably want to stop and think, right? Because you might be in an academic program that is helping you thrive and preparing you for life. That's something you got your eyes and your mind and your heart set on. And then you go over there and you don't have that no more. So keep that kind of stuff in mind, right? Now, what we've got to do, and I say we because I'm in that coaching field or this coaching field, we as parents, we as players, we as coaches have to make sure we focus on player safety and player development, right? If a kid is going to develop better somewhere else because somewhere else is running a better program than us, we have to salute, recognize it, and wish that kid the best. Simple as that. You ain't gonna want to hear it. You ain't gonna want to lose a kid. Nobody ever wants to lose a player. Well, sometimes you do want to lose a player. And if you've been doing this long enough, you've thought, man, my team would have been so much better without said player. And it could just be your team would be so much better on Fridays if you stop letting certain guys that are not going to dress out be in the locker room or be in the building. Um, Stuff as simple as that, right? But again, we got to make sure we're focused on the safety of the players. We got to make sure we're focused on the development of the players. And those have to be the priorities, right? If those are the priorities, then there's not a question of if the game is too soft or if I'm coaching too soft or if I'm coaching too hard. If my team graduation rate is over 90%, I would say I'm doing a good job. If my team GPA is over, I would say an 83, 85, I would say we're doing a good job, right? If you break it down and you look at everybody on your team and it's over a 2.9, a 3.0, whatever you want to measure it with, then you're doing a good job, right? If players are walking away from your program and are having success in life, you're doing a good job. So we got to focus on player safety, player development, and not focus on the foolishness of the taunting and the dancing and all the trash talking and the targeting and all the extra excessive stuff. If we could solely focus on the things that we can control within our program, being the academics, the relationships that they build with people, right? Helping them with a relationship with God, right? Now we're looking at developing and doing a better job when it comes to making sure we're pushing our kids into the world to be successful, right? So when we do this, super important that our kids enjoy the game, because no matter what sport you coach, you're going to always find life lessons in it. You're going to always be able to take your sport, take a situation from your sport, and connect it to something that's happened in life. Now, is every kid going to understand it? No. But is every kid going to eventually see something in life that was difficult, that was straining, that was mentally tough? Yes. And if they don't, then hey, some people just get lucky, right? But again, we got to make sure, because it's our job to teach the game and to teach life lessons. And if we're doing those things when we're teaching this game, like I said, ain't no matter, it won't matter if people say we're being too soft or too hard, right? Now, sports, football should be hard. Practice should always be hard. The weight room should be hard. The weight room to me is that big reward piece because in the weight room you can fail so many times. Think of it from this standpoint. In the weight room, you're gonna go through and you're gonna max. And let's just say you're a freshman and you get to that 220, and now they put the 225 and they ask you to do it one time and you hit it off your chest and it go up maybe an inch. And then that coach say, get it. And then you rack it. Right there, you just experience failure. The beauty of it is you get another couple weeks to get in and grind and work and put the 220 back on. So that the next max day, when they put that 225 back on there and it hits your chest and you like it all the way out, the excitement, the joy you see out of the young men, the young women, when they fail in the weight room and then succeed the next time they get it. That's the same thing in football, right? When you're going through and you're running a drill and let's just say it's Oklahoma or you're at certain spots and you do, your paw drill where you get 10 yards, you get 3 downs to get that 10 yards. And the first 4 times your offensive group don't get those 10 yards. But then all of a sudden you get to that 5th time and now that same group you had went with the previous 4 times, y'all finally get the 12 yards or beyond that 10. That excitement, that joy, that that team camaraderie, that moment. I'm just saying, it's hard to find those moments elsewhere. When you're playing on a Friday night and the first time you score a touchdown, first time you get a sack, first time you get an interception, that's what all that hard work, that's what all that yelling, that's what all that being tough on you, being hard on you, being working in the weight room, running in the summers, running after practice, putting all that extra stuff in. That's what all of it was for those moments. Now, how does that transfer to life? That first time you get a promotion. For some people, that first time they get a job, you're excited, right? First time you see that check and it's a number you was hoping it would be at, that's exciting, right? First time you buy a car. For some people, the first time you just make a big purchase. And I don't know what your purchase might be, what you might want. It could just be you wanted a new cell phone. That excitement. Same thing. You had to go put some work in to make that happen. That's what you do it for, right? You got to work. You got to start somewhere. And it's supposed to be tough. But eventually you get a reward out of it, right? So when we're coaching, we as coaches, we have to make sure, we better make sure that these kids know you love them. If you plan on pushing them, if you plan on being tough on them, being hard on them, they better know you care. They better know you love them. They better know you care. Simple as that. Imagine, this just happened to me the other day. A kid walked over to me and he said, Coach, let me go get some reps at free safety. And I just looked at him like, why? And he said, come on, coach, just let me go. I said, I've never seen you play free safety. I said, how does this sound? My mom's right over there. Go ask her for $100. What? Man, I don't know your mama like that. Oh, okay. All right. I don't know you like that, but I'm supposed to trust you on the field right now to do something I ain't never coached you how to do. Yeah, I don't see how that even relate to one another. I wouldn't expect you to. When you grow up a little bit, you'll understand. But you just asked me to give you a job that my other guys have worked really hard for. You just asked me to throw you in a position that they're paying me to coach kids to be in. And if you don't do it right, I get in trouble. But I'm supposed to just throw you out there. But you won't just go ask. I've told you, she my mama. Just go ask her for 100. But you don't see the connection. I'm just supposed to give you something just because you asked me for it. No, it don't work like that. Life don't work like that, right? So again, kids have to know we love them. Kids got to know that we care about them, right? If I'm going to put you in a hard situation, I'm going to make sure I prepped you and prepared you for a hard situation before it ever happens. And then when it happens, 9 times out of 10, it's happening at practice so that I can see how you're going to react to it. That way, when we actually get in a situation that might even be remotely close to it, we already know what to expect. We already know what the outcome going to be based on what you've shown us previously, because I've already had you battle tested. But again, you know I love you. You know I care about you. I done been hard on you. I done pushed you to a point where I've seen whether you're going to bend, break, or just, you know. So from that point, I already know what I got. I already know what you're working with. Ain't no more pressure. But like I told my 2-year-old the other day, we either want you to be hard and tough or just sit back and be a little cat, meow a little bit. So again, it's all up to you. But you got to think about it. Has the game gotten hard? Has it gotten too soft? It's all a matter of perspective. I'm with it on both sides. I get both arguments. But you put with it and think about it how you want to. Right? Now, with all that being said, that's all I got for you. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for tuning in, listening to me. This is another episode of One Life to Live with Dr. Coach A. I myself being Dr. Coach A. You can find me on X at One Life to Live. That is the number 1, LYF, the number 2, LIV, and the number 3. Or Dr. Coach A. DR Coach, COACHA. That's on X and IG. Again, if you want to join me, sit down, have one of these conversations, by all means, reach out. Other than that, have a blessed day.